Well, happy Tuesday. It's time for this week's video. Get ready. Well, I want to talk about the way Jesus taught or preached when he was in his ministry. And those events that were recorded in the first 4 books of the New Testament called the Gospels. And the reason being is because people call me sometimes because they're hung up on something Jesus said in one of those 4 Gospels. We get emails pretty regularly where people are also hung up on a verse or a passage from something Jesus said in those 4 Gospels. And you have to have the perspective of why he said what he said. And to understand that, you have to understand that he was the Messiah that the Old Testament said would come. He had come. And the Old Testament said that he would do some specific things. And in Isaiah chapter 42, it says very clearly that when he would come, he would magnify the law and he would make it honorable. And he did. When Jesus preached, he preached the law. When he taught the law. When he scolded, he used the law. And very hard to handle. A lot of the things he said, people could not handle hearing. Some people now cannot handle hearing them. And it is, number one, it is a mistake when you read those 4 Gospels to think that what he's saying in there, by applying the law and preaching the law, that what he's saying applies to you. It's not good. Paul actually said that the law that Jesus was making honorable, the law was the ministry of death and condemnation. And when you apply Jesus's teachings and his sermons to yourself, you will feel condemned. That was the ministry of the law. Now the good news is Paul several times mentions how the law was abolished, that the Old Testament is old, and because there's a New Testament, there's a new covenant. The Old Testament was the old covenant, and it was the covenant in effect until the new covenant was established by Jesus Christ. Therefore, the old covenant is now old. It is no longer in place anymore because the new covenant took its place. And the new covenant is a covenant of peace. Jesus himself said that the scriptures, including the law and all of the prophets, spoke of him, and he came to fulfill them. Fulfill means to complete. He came to complete that contract, that old covenant. That covenant was a contract, and he came to fulfill it, meaning complete it, close it. He said not one jot or tittle of the law will pass away until all prophecy is fulfilled, or until all is fulfilled, meaning all law and all prophecy, everything. And so when Paul says that the whole law, not just a jot or a tittle, is abolished, then you can trust that what Jesus said is true, that if the law was fulfilled and abolished, then all prophecy was fulfilled and abolished. And it was done so at the cross when Jesus established the new covenant of peace. And then Paul even said, we no longer know Christ after the flesh. See, that was a role he came to play as the Messiah. One of the roles he came to play was to make the law honorable. The Jews, over time, had made the law dishonorable by perverting it and distorting it and making rule changes and all kinds of other things. He came to set them straight. He came to set it straight, put it in its place, and then end it. That's what he came to do. And Paul said we no longer know Jesus after the flesh, because when he was here in the flesh, one of the things he was here to do was to make the law honorable. But the other thing he was here to do was also to fulfill it and end it. He no longer is preaching the law to us. He is no longer playing that role. He only had to play it once because he did it right the first time. And like he said, it is finished. When he said it was finished, the old covenant was finished, the law was finished, his work here on earth was finished. It was finished. It is revolutionary, I know. Have a revolutionary week.